the ref ended up coming and finding me later in the day or later that night after the main event. And he's like, if there would have been 5 more seconds in that, I would have called it. And I was like, we were so close.
You did exactly what you needed to do. You let your hands go. You sat there, you ate one, you gave two, you ate another one and gave three. And boy, that guy, his chin was granite that night.
Oh, he took the kitchen sink and more. And
we could call this Teddy Atlas here in Las Vegas, Nevada. You heard from the champion himself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Richard Ortiz of The Fighter's Voice, the only voice that matters. And I'm like our guest today, Victor Morales Jr., who's 19-0, one draw, and is the WBA Intercontinental World Champion. He's going to defend his title in March 16th on the undercard of Zepeda and Hughes in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Victor.
how's it going? I'm excited to be here as always.
You know what, man? I mean, we go a long way. I started looking through the archives, and remember when I covered that fight in Oregon? I have your weigh-in.
It, like almost all the way back to the beginning.
Absolutely. I had, even when they screwed up on your song, I was going, okay, this cat's coming into some AC/DC or something. But you're supposed to come in with some mariachi music, man, that just, pounding, because you came in with a sombrero and then they kick some AC/DC, and I was like, okay, that's a little collaboration right there.
I think my opponent actually walked out to my song. I heard my song come on and I'm like, do we pick the same song? That's kind of weird, whatever, it is what it is. And then they're okay, whenever you're ready, go. And then they're like, whenever the song comes on, then you're good to go. I'm like, but you don't have to go right then. And I remember that song coming on. So I'm waiting there, I'm waiting there and they're like, you're good to go. And I'm like, I guess, let's go. It's not my song, but let's go. Let's do it anyway.
You rocked it anyways, man. You came and took care of business. And I remember the guy you fought was tough as nails. And, they had to come in and actually stop the fight because he's one of those guys that he'll leave it all in the ring each and every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, what was that, brother?
No, go for it.
I remember commentating on your fight, and I remember your footwork at the time. And I said his footwork reminds me of Floyd Mayweather's, even at a young age. Just the way your footwork was, your balance, the way you cut the ring off, the way you were setting up traps, and see that comes from a long amateur background. Talk to us about your amateur background before we jump into this big fight we got coming up.
I started boxing when I was 7 years old and, went to every national that I could from about 10 years old to when I turned pro, 18. Fought a lot of different people, fought a lot of big names, and where we're at now because of the amateurs.
Exactly. That sets the foundation. And, there's a lot of chemistry that works and doesn't work. And you and your dad, you guys work hand in hand together. I mean, I'm sure there's some scuffles outside of boxing and what have you, but that's human nature. You guys separate and you guys take care of business in the ring. Talk to us about that relationship inside the ring and outside the ring.
I think the reason why we can make it work is because we have respect inside and outside of the ring. Sometimes the coaches take it too far. I don't know in other cases, but in our case, there's never been a time where I'm like, that I tell him get out of here, or he tells me we're always just. We have that respect in the ring. If he says to do something, I'm gonna do it. If maybe there's a question about it, ask a question, he answers it, and we'll go back to it.
Exactly. One thing that stood out for me, I mean, more than other fighters, you groomed yourself already outside of the ring to be that public figure, to be that role model, to be that approachable person, to walk like a champion, smell like a champion, and be that champion. One thing that caught my eye right off the bat was not only did you have your gear outside set up professionally, it's your entire. You put a suit on, a 3-piece suit. And I remember asking you about that. And you said something like both you and your father, you said, hey, act like a champion, claim it, breathe it, and give it life. And, the rest is history. And I'm going to tell you a story about that as well.
Go for it.
I was talking to the old matchmaker from Golden Boy. Roberto. He said, Richard, he's telling me, and it's on the archives. He said, Diaz, he said, Richard, we weren't signing fighters at the time. We were not signing fighters at the time. He said, this cat, I've watched him. I scouted him, and every single fight he was dressed to impress. He said he went to Golden Boy and he said, look, man, we got to sign this kid. Everybody was high on you, but at the time they were frozen. They weren't signing anybody. So I'm not going to say who it was, but just know that somebody got released so you can make that signing, and now the rest is history. But it was because you impressed them outside of the ring as well as you did inside of the ring.
Yeah, exactly. That's if I remember right, I showed up for just the day. I flew in and flew out the same day for one of my stablemates fights, and showed up in a suit, cufflinks and everything, and just was sitting there talking to Robert, and the rest is history. We ended up signing. I came home, and I think like a few days later, they must have sent me like a hat or something, and they had let my dad know, hey, we're signing him, and so he surprised me like that.
No, that was good. But he told me the story, and because I asked him and I wanted to know exactly what he had to say. But it wasn't just a suit, my brother. They did their homework. They knew exactly who they were getting. That monster inside of the ring, that tornado that just wipes everybody out, man.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be able to do it inside and outside of the ring. That's money right there. If you can do, if you're only good in the ring, I mean, that only takes you so far, unfortunately.
How did you get the nickname?
It's just kind of grew on to me when I was little. People would always ask my dad, "Oh, where's the little tornado at?" And when we would go to nationals, and it kind of just stuck from there.
How's your dad doing in his car collection? He has some classic cars, man. I know he has an itch for that.
Yeah, yeah, he's doing good. Car collection's doing good. Think his last one was his Impala. Um, I ended up buying his Monte Carlo off of him, so I have that sitting in my garage. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Cars is what we like to do outside.
See, not only did I get to commentate your fight, do the post-fight interview with you, and I also got to announce you in Lemoore, California, on their Top Rank event. And I remember announcing you, and somebody came up to me and they said, "Hey, Richard, you screwed up on where he's from." And I said, "No, I didn't." His dad said, "Make sure you say this," and I did exactly what your dad asked me to do. And I remember there was a little bit of a hiccup there because somebody wanted me to announce you out of their hometown, which I knew you were not from. But your dad said, "Richard,
Uh,
make sure you announce it from here." I said, "You got it, boss."
yeah. I live in Vancouver. I fight out of Portland. I've represented both areas. The whole Pacific Northwest is on my back, honestly.
Well, you're doing it, man, and you're more comfortable doing it. And Top Rank, I'm sorry, that was a Top Rank fight, but Golden Boy has brought you along, and they didn't give you no easy
Hmm.
pickings. You've earned exactly where you are at today. I mean, that's facts.
Yeah, they've given me the fights that we needed, and I ended up taking it a little bit step forward. And I said, "Hey, I want a tougher fight," and that's when I called out Diego, and now we're here.
Well, I remember that, and you know what? That's the only way you're going to climb. I mean, you don't get anywhere going 2 or 3 rounds against somebody that's not in the top 10. When you start climbing, that's how you become that prospect, that now contender for a world title, and you've earned your keep. Because there's a couple times, man, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm biting my nails, and I'm going, bro, and I'm moving with you. And, you know, and everybody was saying, okay, well, I said, I got to get to the undercard. I got to watch the undercard because a lot of times you were on the undercard. So I'd show up early
Mhm.
sometimes or just watch it because I had to check it out. I had to tune in wherever I was. And yeah, man, I mean, there's certain fighters that kind of rub off on you, whether you want to or not, or you say, hey, I'm not going to get close to a fighter. You always say that, but there's always those fighters that just get inside. And I remember the day that you signed to fight for a little while, it was on paper, Isidro Ochoa. I remember calling your
Mhm.
dad and I said, look, man, I followed Isidro forever. I said, I watch and I support your son 100%. I go, I'm caught in the middle. I'm keeping it real. So when you see me post stuff of Isidro, you're also going to see me post stuff of Victor. And he said, Richard, I appreciate
Mhm.
that call. And, the fight fell through. It didn't go through, which I'm glad. I'm really, I am. But I remember Isidro calling me, he said, Richard, I'm going to have my toughest fight. He goes, guess who I'm fighting? Because he knew I followed you. And he told me, I said, bro, you got to be
Mhm.
joking here. My first call was to your dad because I wanted to start posting stuff and I didn't want him thinking, okay. Because one thing your dad said to me, and I'll never forget, he said, Richard, you're a real one.
Mhm. And he doesn't say that about a lot of different people. He only says it about certain people.
Well, I'm glad he said it about me, man. Why did the fight fall through? What happened?
I ended up getting injured. Uh, it was a bad injury that I was in and out of physical therapy for a while, before that fight, and then even months afterwards. It was just going through an injury. It just didn't make sense to make the fight happen. So we, not we, they. I get in a fight. If it was up to me, I'd be fighting. But they stepped in and said no.
Yeah, I just thought at a young age you got two promising careers and both undefeated at the time, and uh, I just didn't want to see it happen. But some promoters don't care; they just want to make things happen, and it is what it is. I'm glad your roads didn't cross, and maybe somewhere in the future
Hmm.
they will. But it paid off for you. Look where you're at today.
Yeah, exactly. My safety is everything. Obviously, I don't care too much about my safety. I'm a fighter, but uh, that's the that's my dad's job. My everybody in the corner, everybody that's on my team, that's their job, and that was their call.
Well, your last couple of fights, especially your last fight, you showed exactly what you're made out of, and it takes those type of fights. That's nothing you want to your whole career to go that way because you want to have your faculties do some commentating. We're going to talk about that. Your first time commentating for the
Hmm.
zone, but that shows respect to not only yourself that you've answered your own questions, but your team, but the organization, the promotion, and also the fans. They want to be entertained. And Victor, that was a freaking. I mean, you had the KO seconds. If we would have 30 more seconds, we would have
Oh,
had that KO. I believe his name is Edwin. How do
the
you say his
ref
last name? Palamos, or what was Edwin's last name? Palomares.
Palomares.
Okay, my bad.
The ref ended up coming and finding me later in the day or later that night after the main event. And he's like, if there would have been 5 more seconds in that of that, I would have called it. And I was like, we were so close.
You did exactly what you needed to do. You let your hands go. You sat there, you ate one, you gave two, you ate another one and gave three. And boy, that guy, his chin was granite that night.
Oh, he took the kitchen sink and more. And so when I heard him, I think it was with the right hand, I literally turned around and went for it. And it just didn't happen, but it is what it
I
is.
remember that. You didn't leave anything in the gas tank. You saw it, you bled it, and why save it when that opportunity's there?
Last round, I just might as well go for it, and I went for it, and it was just barely too short.
How difficult was it for you to get that Diego fight? And how long did it take after you called him out, knowing the relationship with the whole Golden Boy organization and the president as well?
From what it sounded like, when I called him out, they took it to him, and somebody along the line said no. Not saying it was him, but somebody said no. Well, actually, this was before I even called him out on social media. We were kind of shooting the shots at them, just management to Golden Boy, and somewhere there was a no, and they're like, hey, it's a no. They're not interested. I said, okay. Well, I'm gonna take it to social media then, and it's exactly what I did. And I think a couple of weeks later, after the post, they were like, "Hey, you got the fight you wanted, so you better do what you were gonna do." And who better to call out and make a statement against Oscar's cousin?
That definitely made a statement. And if anybody doesn't know your power now, that single knockout power, hey, you made a statement. And those are the fights you needed. Those are the opportunities you needed to perform. Because a lot of people, Victor, they'll get those opportunities and they'll put us to sleep, or it
Mhm.
doesn't work out that way, or,
Right.
or they couldn't adapt, or they couldn't cut the ring off. The opportunity was there. A victory wasn't big enough for you. You had to make a statement, and you made it crystal
Yeah.
clear. And it wasn't anybody that was handpicked. I mean, these are the cream of the crop coming up. The things you need to do to become a
Right.
world champion.
Exactly. That's the fight that I wanted, and that was the fight that put me here. Honestly, that's the fight that gave me my title. That gave me my ranking. I'm ranked, I think, in the other and two more sanctioning bodies too, and I'm blessed to have been able to take care of that the way I did.
How long before you get a title shot? What are we looking at, or who are we looking at?
This is the title
Eliminator, right?
eliminator
Yes.
fight. So we'll be. I mean, they were mentioning doing some kind of tune-up fight before a world title because obviously the world title is being fought for on the second by Raymond Ford and another guy. And so I told them I don't want anything in between. I want to go from this one to that one and make it happen.
Well, there you go. You got your
So
plan.
by the end of the year.
Okay. Okay. I got to be there at that one. This one's a little too close, but we still might be able to pull a rabbit out of our hat. Because I'll tell you a quick story. I'll
Yeah.
tell you a quick story. I was given an opportunity, and we're going to talk about commentating. I was given an opportunity to commentate for Marv Nation and then go into the ring and post-fight interview. It was on a Saturday. But Thursday, I was covering the Super Bowl weekend, Teofimo Lopez and Ortiz fight. So went up there
Mm.
Thursday in luxury style. A big shout out to Limo for You, Rodney Encinas, the best limousine service in the world. So make sure you look him up. He's on Instagram and also Twitter and Facebook. Limo for You, Rodney Encinas. So we get up there in Las Vegas in style, go cover the fight, get ready to catch our flight, miss our flight. So then we booked another flight. I leave my bag in the Uber. So as I'm coming back, I'm waiting just enough time to grab my bag, catch the flight, go down to LA, go cover a Marv Nation's fight. So we're talking about back and forth, got to do what I love, commentate and interview the fighters. And you know what? A big shout out to Marv Nation. They're making it happen. And, you know, being behind the mic on podcasts or, you know, interviewing somebody is a little different, but there's nothing like being behind the action. And that's one thing I wanted to ask you. What was it like commentating for DAZN, Golden Boy?
Oh, obviously it was a little bit nerve wracking, knowing I was live on TV. It's nothing that I hadn't done. I mean, I haven't done it, but live stuff. I've done all the live stuff and everything. That was just another thing. And so they actually just offered me at the Jojo Diaz fight, like, oh, you want to come back and do it? And I was like, anytime you guys need it, I'll be there. It was a lot of fun though. We had a lot of fun. It's different to see it from kind of that perspective from the corner of the ring, pretty much. It's a different perspective on it for sure.
Exactly. And my story I was telling you adds up to this. Don't be surprised if you see me pull a rabbit out of my hat. And I don't know if I'm going to go from planes, trains, and automobiles to get to your fight, but I'll definitely do my best come the 16th.
Well, I appreciate it, and it'd be great to see you.
Absolutely, man. We gotta chew it up again. I remember meeting you guys for breakfast the very next day when you fought in Lemoore, California.
Mhm. Yes. At shoot, that was a stop. I ended up stopping the guy in that fight too.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. And that was a top rank card
Yeah,
at that time.
that was a top rank card. Yep, I remember. Yeah, it was. It's been great since we met you. So if we could do it again soon, that'd be great.
So everybody's good at home? Mom, dad, everybody?
Everybody's good at home. Yeah, everybody's good at home. I just moved out, so me and my fiance have our own place now. We're there for about a month before I left, so it's kind of different, but everything is good. Everybody's happy, and we're just living life.
I was about to get to that, and I didn't get to. Well, I did send you a text and said congratulations. What is it like knowing you have that extra responsibility? Is that something you're embracing, or is it an added pressure? How do you feel? Tell everybody.
It was just a long time coming thing. I guess it doesn't add any pressure to me. I'm gonna go out and do what I do regardless. And we have our own place now, so I'll just get to come home to my own place. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, 26-year-old man, you're in the prime of your career, and big fights are coming your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not deterring me from anything. I'm focused. I'm razor focused, especially for this fight. We're focused on this fight because this fight means the next fight is a world title. So that's what we're trying to do.
So how's camp going at this time?
It's good. Yeah, we've been in LA for a few weeks now. Just getting some different sparring in, working, kind of sharpening things up, and we're gonna be ready on fight night.
Ever since you've grown, first of all, as meeting Oscar De La Hoya, you said, man, that was something you dreamed about, something you wanted to do. He seems to have a different respect for you when he talks to you now. I mean, now the conversation's real. It's the eye contact. It's the, hey, wow, okay, you're no longer just passing by. I mean, because he deals with people constantly. He's a businessman. I mean, his schedule, I wouldn't want to have a schedule. So how are those conversations like today as opposed to when you first met him?
They're great, and I definitely know what you're saying. He's a busy man. He's moving around. He goes from one place to another really fast. But definitely it's changed a lot, especially after he came and walked in on one of my interviews and was like, "This is how you make a statement." And
I remember that.
some people didn't like that. It is what it is. But definitely have his respect now.
Well, you know what? Oscar has the respect of a lot of promotions and a lot of fight fans. A lot of people are judgmental. A lot of people are ignorant and don't know what's going on. Since 2024, Oscar's been committed to the sport of boxing, has collaborated with other promotion teams, making these big fights happen. I mean, what's left to say about him? And in the beginning, I'm going to say this: Oscar has changed the game of boxing when he started fighting. Plain and simple, period, because this is before your time. And I was a little kid watching.
Mm-hmm.
The only women that used to go to fights was either Bo Derek because her agent told her to show up, or Brooke Shields because her agent told her to show up. When Oscar put the gloves on and walked into the ring, it was full of mostly female fans. Oscar's
Oh
changed
yeah,
the
I
game.
believe it.
Now it's cool for a female to show up to a boxing match, as opposed to they weren't really sure. Oscar has changed it and it hasn't looked back. And that's, he doesn't get enough credit for that. And he also doesn't get enough credit for
Mm-hmm.
he's never ducked anybody in his life. He fought everybody at different weight classes, win, lose, or draw. And a lot of those decisions should have been awarded to Oscar De La Hoya. And I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather. I had him beat Floyd Mayweather. I was at that fight. So, yes, I said it and I
Yeah,
stand by it.
I 100% agree. He's done a lot for the sport, and it's been a blessing to be a part of his promotion.
Well, he has big plans for you, and he has big plans for the whole promotion itself. And, he doesn't just focus just on one fighter. He focuses on every
Mm-hmm.
single fighter out there. He shows up, gives it his all. I saw him at a top rank event, and I didn't even know he was there. I put my head down, and as I put my head down, he passed by already. Had I known, so I got this picture ready of when my mom met him. My mom was blessing him. She goes, "Come here, mijo, let me bless you." All that.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I always said, I said, bro, people have asked, have you met Oscar? I go, I've met him at different times, not since becoming media, but I've met him. And I said, all it takes is for me to show that picture and it's a wrap. Because I know he'll look back at it because he was so young. And how many people come up to you and
Oh
say,
yeah.
mijo, let me bless you? And my mom, she didn't care who you were. She didn't want an autograph or nothing. She just goes, oh, that's my mijo, let me bless him. And she adopted him
Yeah.
right there on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, and it's great to have. I know exactly how that goes. He'll definitely remember for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. But listen, man, I know you got a long camp, drooling camp. You're getting in the middle of it. You're putting your game plan without giving too much. But you could say this. What do you know about your opponent?
He's a super strong guy, 19-0, 13 knockouts. So he's gonna come. He's gonna come to fight. He's a strong guy. Um, Tries to stay busy. My game plan is honestly, I can say, is just to go in there. I'm gonna break him down. From round one to round 12. If it goes that long, I'm gonna break him down starting round one.
Well, I'm looking forward to that breakdown, and it's destiny's ahead of you. And I've watched you. I'm sure he has a great camp, and he has the same wants and desires as everybody else. But I'm talking, man. I mean, I've never seen a fighter grow. You went from 1 and 2, you skipped 3 and 4, and went straight up to 5. You went from 1, 2 to 5. 3 and 4. I mean, that's just, you went from, like, you know what I mean? You just jumped, and those
Yeah.
opportunities, you made good at it. I know a lot of fighters, Victor, they received opportunities and they just couldn't cash in. And some are big names. You cashed in on those opportunities, and this is why you're sitting on that seat today. And this is why you're on that undercard in Las Vegas, Nevada, March 16th. Is it at MGM Grand, or where's it going to be at exactly?
It's at the
Okay.
Cosmopolitan.
Okay.
I think they just had some fight. They did just have some fights there. It looks like it's going to be a good arena. Good, it's Vegas, so you can't complain.
Everything's good in Vegas, except the water. Man, that water turns my stomach a little bit. Except for the bottle. The bottle water is
I
cool.
buy water. I buy bottled water.
Bottled water. But see, you know how they get you? It's like if you order a soda and you say, with ice, I order it without ice because the ice is their water. And it just, I'm cool with that.
No ice. No ice in the drinks. I get it.
No, none.
I remember that.
None. Listen, I want your honest opinion. Teofimo Lopez and Ortiz, who did you have winning? And what did you think about the decision? And what did you think about the fight itself?
Just from the very beginning, I knew the fight was going to be. I ended up catching it a little bit late. I think I was caught into the fourth round, but it didn't seem like much changed. I had it a super close fight. Just depending on what are you looking for, right? Are you looking for someone that's not getting hit, or are you looking for someone that's trying to make things happen? Because we can't say one was hitting the other, or one was hitting, they were hitting each other very much, because one was moving a lot. There was 2 rounds and Ortiz didn't do really anything. Teofimo was trying to make it happen. He couldn't cut the ring off and couldn't make it happen. I honestly gave that to Teofimo, but not by much. I gave it to Teofimo. I thought he won the fight, but that's just because he was pushing forward. He was trying to make things happen. Not even if he couldn't, he was still trying. He was not on his back foot, and I think that's what a lot of people missed on that fight.
Well, I'll say this: if it wasn't a title fight, it could have easily been called a draw. But since it was a title fight,
Yes.
I didn't. You have to take it. You got to convince him. He could have scored a knockdown, do something, because when he was forced to trade punches, he did fairly well. The female fact was
Right.
pushing the fight. I wish he would have cut the ring off and forced Ortiz to bang, because every time he did, he held his own. Move around a little bit, set a trap, but you got to let your hands go. You got to go get it. I had him on the show.
You got to take
Exactly.
it. You can't just win it. If it's not vacant and it's a title fight, listen, and exactly that's what I should have said. You can't just ask for it. If you're not the champion, you're fighting the champion in a title fight. You gotta snatch it,
Exactly.
or don't expect it to go your way. That's another thing people don't realize. I'm like, you gotta physically take it or walk away. I mean, if it's a close fight, don't expect it to go your way.
I had Jermaine Ortiz on the show about a week and a half before, and he said, "Richard, I can't let it go to the judges. On a close fight, I'm not going to get the nod." He said, "I got to let my hands go." And we talked about that. We talked off camera as well. Very nice guy. I think he has all the attributes, all the athletic ability, but at the end of the day, you got to have that smoke in that dog. And I'm not taking anything away from him, because like I said, when he was forced to bang, Victor, he was doing okay. He was holding his own.
Yeah, I agree. When there was the action, it was looking good, but like I said, you can't just walk in there and then run around for a while, 12 rounds, and expect to, not do enough and expect the fight to go your way. Luckily, there was not very much action in the fight anyways, but you can't just walk in there and hope that it comes with you. Like I said, you gotta take it.
Well, I do like Teofimo Lopez's ring walk. At first, it was kind of weird a little bit, but then it was cool. It was animated. It was entertaining, and he's an entertainer, and he wants to prove himself.
Yeah.
I just wish, why aren't these guys? You got these world champions, okay? And one of them was another friend of mine. You got Teofimo Lopez. You got Regis Prograis. Victor, why are they not able to cut the ring off at this peak in their career? They're professionals, and you're dealing with a boxer. I mean, watch some Julio Cesar Chavez film. Watch some Roberto Duran film. Duran didn't even have to cut the ring off. He just pointed his toe the right direction. And I mean, I'm watching it from a seat, so but then again, let's cut that ring off and force the action.
I don't know what happened. It could be a bunch of different things. Maybe something that they were looking at so many different things, they didn't realize that they weren't cutting the ring off. I'm sure when he saw the fight afterwards, he saw, damn, I should have cut the ring off. That would have made the fight way easier. You just never know. Different things can happen. There's a lot going on. The audience, he's trying to rile up the audience at the same time, and just anything.
I guess I'm just spoiled, and I wanted to see the Teofimo Lopez that beat Josh Taylor. Even the one that fought Loma landed some shots in there. I want to see the one who stuck to the game plan and that fought Josh Taylor. Teofimo Lopez, his father came on 2 weeks before, and every single thing he predicted came to pass. Every single thing. And see, those are the matchups that I want to see. When his back's against the wall, he lets his hands go. And when he's in that groove, he lets his hands go, and he's just unbeatable once he has that groove and that momentum.
Yeah, I feel like the same sometimes. Sometimes I'm the same way. It just, once you're in that groove, and you can see he was not in the groove this fight. He was in the Josh Taylor fight. You can just tell when he's gonna have a good one, and they both came out of the ring safe, went to their families, and that's all you can ask for, honestly.
I will say this, and I want to give some a little bit of props because this guy didn't get too much props. You saw the headbutt, right? Correct. And bad cut on Jermaine Ortiz. We got to give some props to my man, the cut man,
Oh
Mike
yeah,
Basil.
I
My
forgot
gosh,
about it.
Mike Basil. Bro, I'm looking at the camera right now.
Yeah.
Mike Basil, great job of stopping that cut. It was a non-factor, like Victor Morales Jr. just said right now. We forgot about
I
it.
forgot about it.
He did.
Until it started bleeding again towards the
Yeah.
end. I forgot about it. And matter of fact, Mike Basil did my fight in my top rank fight. He was my cut man and did my hands and did the whole thing for me. So shout out to him.
Exactly. Because we talk about these great these great cut men, these great trainers, but they don't become great until they face adversity. I have a friend, her name's Carol. She calls herself Carol the Cut Woman, and she's a cut woman. And I said, Carol, unfortunately, your fighters are winning, but you're not going to be able to show the world your gifts until your fighter gets cut or a headbutt. I'm not wishing for that, but that's going to be your opportunity there to close that cut up ASAP and show the world exactly what you can do.
I agree. And we had my brother cut me, do a cut. Actually, I think it was my really good cut, when I was a co-man, I think, against, I was wearing the camel stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah, okay, I remember
my brother
that.
was like, he's like,
You had these
I
shirts
ended up
too in
getting
the
cut, I think,
camel,
in the
right?
last
You had
round.
these shirts in the camel too.
Yeah,
And
it was
big
those
shout out
shirts
to
in
your
camel.
pops. He sent me this right here. You know, hey, it's still holding up.
That's
You know,
awesome.
can you use another one, a new one to rock it? But yeah, hey,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, he ended up doing like months of research and was taking stuff from Stitch Duran, he was just doing months of research. And his first fight with me was like, hey, let's, if we got to do it, we got to do it. But, I'd rather not. And I was like, no, you're good. I don't think so. And then I think like the second to last round, I think we caught each other's feet and I leaned forward my head and the one happened and we're like, okay, well, here you go. You gotta work now. And he sealed it up for the rest of the fight pretty much.
There you go. He was well prepared. He was well prepared, and
well prepared and months of research that he did.
Hey man, and it happens, and again, he stepped up to the plate. What do you think about this matchup? We got Ryan Garcia, and we got Devin Haney. What do you think about the matchup? What do you think about the promotion, them going back and forth on social media? And what do you think the outcome is going to be?
We can start with the outcome. I think Devin's going to outbox him. Stop him, I don't know. But I think Devin's going to win. And Devin's the homie. Even though I grew up with both those guys going to the amateurs, so I've seen their fights. I didn't even know they were 3-3. I thought it was like 5-1 or something for Devin. I don't know if there was a record of 3-3 maybe on their box rec from their amateur days. I'm not sure. But it was always a good fight. It was a good, entertaining fight in the amateurs. I'm sure it'll be a good one this time, and I think Devin's going to outbox him. The promotion is, they're doing what they got to do. They're building up the fight how they're supposed to, and kudos to them. I'm excited to watch them fight.
Bill Haney's a character. He talked about, a lot of people talk about his training, but I'm going to say this. They said possibly trainer of the year. I want to say manager of the year. I mean, this guy has set the standard on how fighters should walk and treat themselves and uphold themselves. As again, you call things, the Bible says, you call things if they're not as if they are. You give it life. You will prosper once you give it life, and it creates itself. Every time I see Devin, I will say, it's all about that bay. And he goes, all about that bay, baby, all about that bay. I remember talking to him one time, Victor, and I said, hey, do you think you ever share the ring with Jose Ramirez? And he goes, yeah, sure. If our paths cross, yeah. He goes, I'll share the ring with you if they give me enough money. And he's just a character. He's witty and he's funny.
Yeah.
He made me a believer after he won that belt. He became, a lot of times champions become better when you win the belt. Every single fight, Victor, since he's won that belt, even when he ran it back the rematch, he's become better and better and better. Him and that Lomo fight was very close, and everybody can have their own opinion about different things, but he didn't let that affect him when he had that big stage against Regis Pro Gray. And I chill with Regis, like you said, Devin the homie, Regis the homie. But Devin Haney, he gave him a boxing lesson. And again, I was disappointed that Regis couldn't cut the ring off, only to make the fight more eventful.
Yeah, exactly. Even if he would have, I don't know that it would have been, a different fight. I still think that Devin would have outboxed him, but he had a game plan and he stuck to it from one round to the last one and made it a good fight.
And when he scored that knockdown, brother, as well as I know, that extra 5 pounds, man, it makes a lot of difference.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I've I think when we met, I wasn't rehydrating that much, but I definitely rehydrate now, and it's a big difference now. I can feel it.
I mean, and he's a big, at the time, he was a big 135 pounder. He's a big 140 pounder. I
Mhm.
mean, he got like what, 2% body fat, if that. And where's it at? On his ear? I mean, because he's shredded.
Yeah, yeah. He's always in shape.
You know what? He's definitely in the top in the 140-pound division and can possibly be the face of the 140-pound division. And again, it's stacked. You got Arnold Barboza, you got Jose Ramirez, you got gosh dang it. You of course you got Teofimo, you got Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis is talking about going up there. Matthias is up there. I mean,
Mhm.
it's stacked. Devin Haney is up there. Regis Prograis. I mean, it's full of nothing but dogs and monsters in that division.
Oh, we just got to make sure that all the business can match up so that we can make some of these fights happen, right?
Exactly. Well, Oscar's trying. I mean, he's collaborating,
Yeah.
with all these different promotion teams, and it takes somebody to step up and say, "Hey, let's make these things happen. Let's give the fans what they want, and
Mhm.
it's a business. Let's make some money along the way. Why not?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You got to some of these guys. We just got to start mixing them up because you can only fight. There's people moving around promotions because they can't fight other people that they want to, and it's just a big mess that a lot of people in the outside world don't see. They're like, "Why isn't this fight happening?" So they ask me, and I'm like, "Business doesn't make sense, obviously." They're like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, it doesn't make sense for both sides. They're two different networks, two different promotions. It's not as easy as just, I mean, it could be, but sometimes it's just not as easy as just combining the two and making a fight happen."
Brother, those negotiations go back and forth. Okay, I want the blue corner. No, I want the blue corner. Okay, who's going to walk in first? Who's going to,
Right.
it comes down to those. I remember Miguel Cotto always had to have the blue corner. It didn't matter, if he
Mhm.
came in first or second. I mean, I don't know if he got it against Canelo, but he fought a great fight against that matchup. But I mean, you want what you're accustomed to as well. You want to be the A side every single time, and you're accustomed to that. So it goes down to all
Mhm.
that promotion and give and take, But I think we are going to see some big
What
fights.
size is the ring gonna be?
What was that, brother?
What size is the ring gonna
Exactly.
be?
How about exactly? How
Yeah.
about those ropes, man? I don't want to fight in a shoebox, but I don't want you running all day. I got to catch you. I don't need this ring that big.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it that, like I said, people don't see, and it's just the way it is, I guess.
Listen, every single time you come out with the gear, bro, your whole team is decked out. Decked out. What colors are you using? Will you be wearing this fight, or can you let everybody know that, or is it going to be a surprise? I'm sure either way, it's going to be slamming.
No, it's not a surprise. We're gonna be wearing all black. My outfit's gonna be all black. Want to do something a little bit different, something that people aren't gonna see coming. It's the kind of thing I was going for. So it's an all black theme, pretty
Okay,
much.
well, I'm gonna have hit your dad up and save an all black XL. What song are you coming in with?
Sounds good. We haven't figured
Okay,
that out yet.
there you go. Well, you know what,
Yeah.
man? I mean, you always rep the Fighter's Voice T-shirt well, man. I mean, you posted it. You're not ashamed
Dude,
of it.
I
You
think
didn't
I need
just
a new
throw it in
one.
the closet. You rocked it, bro, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I might need a new one,
Okay,
so
we
maybe we can swap. I think it might. Yeah, I think I work out in it. I
I
walk
got you
around in
covered,
it. It's
bro.
just
I got you covered.
I
A
appreciate
medium.
it. Let's do a
Okay, you got it.
large. Sometimes they shrink, so
Okay,
you
well,
never
I
know.
got you in a large. I also got you in a hoodie too. So afterwards, I'll get your address and
Oh,
take care of you, man.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. And I will say
Yeah, I
this.
appreciate it. And we'll make sure to get you something over there.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And I will say this because you do rep it. There's a lot of fighters, that rep, and I appreciate that. You got Regis Prograis, you got Jamal Herring, and shoot, I even gave one to Tyson Fury. I mean, he probably threw in his shoebox or something. I don't know. But it's a few people that really wear it. I had the Vice President Combate wear it, Mike
Mhm.
Afromowitz. But so I will say this for you rocking it, and I'll say this with a handful of fighters that rock it proudly. You're a real one, Victor.
I appreciate it. Like you said, I like to support when I can, and even if wearing a shirt is the support, then that's what I'm willing to do. I mean, we got to support each other, and that's just how networking is.
Exactly, man. I hear you.
And I love being and I love being doing these kind of interviews and stuff. So it's not just like I'm gonna pick up the phone and do an interview. I enjoy doing interviews, especially when it's with you.
Well, I appreciate that, man. You've grown. You've done a lot of interviews. You've grown as a guest. Because I remember for some people they've never been interviewed before. They don't know what camera do I look at. So I can see you have grown. You know how to handle the spotlight. You know how to handle the camera. You know how to handle the questions. A lot of times you'd be surprised. Can you send me the questions ahead of time? What's it going to be? I mean, come on. I want the element of surprise. I mean, I don't want it. I mean, this is what the fighter's voice, bro. Check this out. I had a guest on, and this is when we had a studio in Fresno, California. Our guest, the name is Chris Honeycutt. The first time it ever happened to me, I'm doing an interview. He just walks off. He goes, I got to go to the restroom. And we're shooting live. So then I entertain everybody, until he comes back. And there was one time I had to go. So we kept an inside joke. I got to pull a Chris Honeycutt. And Chris Honeycutt's an MMA fighter from Bellator. Now he's fighting in Russia. But he got up in the middle of the interview. He goes, I got to go. So, but he came back. But hey, it was live. And that's what happens sometimes.
Hey, it makes for a good show. Something random pops up, I mean, just let me go grab something and I'll be go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Exactly. And I remember when I was messaging you, I said, no car interviews. Remember I said that? Yeah. And I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
I did a couple car interviews with some guys, and the GOAT of all GOATs from ESPN, Mark Kriegel, calls me on a Sunday. He said, Richard, how's everything going? And, excuse my French here. He said, Richard, no more fucking car interviews. He goes, if they don't have time to sit down there with you, fuck them. Straight out. That was Mark Kriegel. And actually, we talked about that at Teofimo Lopez fight, because I talked to Mark afterwards. He said, no more car interviews. He goes, no more. So I made sure, and no more car interviews.
Well, noted, because I did a car interview the other day.
Now, if you're driving around.
No, but it does make sense. But it doesn't. Well, it was funny because I think it was on Thursday. Last Thursday I did an interview and I had to go to the car. I had just left the gym and I'm like, crap, I'm going to be late. So I in the car and just put my headphones in and did the interview. And it was with some people from the UK. So I couldn't just I don't know what their time difference is. And I said, hey, I'm dripping sweat. You can see my shirt. It's just covered.
Well, that's probably the rawness they want.
I just left the gym.
What was that? Probably the rawness that they want.
Well, maybe. But it was, I did the interview but I'll keep that in mind.
That's coming from Mark Kriegel, man. He's the GOAT. I mean, he's an, man. I mean, hey, he's one of the best in the world, one of the best of all time, in my opinion. I remember I did one car interview only because he was giving us a ride and he's driving. So I just bust out the camera. I pulled the alley on alley. Because Ali just busts out his camera. Ali sat back. He's driving. So I started interviewing him. He thought it was going to be about boxing. I talked to him about his relationship with Kobe Bryant. So there's a part 1, 2, and 3, and it's a great segment. So that worked out really well because as he's driving, it kind of went with the theme, kind of like a documentary, as opposed to a fighter sitting there in the dark, like you did. But hey, you had to do what you had to do. But I did post that. You respected it. You honored it. And that's coming from the GOAT, Mark Kriegel, man. So I had to throw that out there too. And
sometimes you have to do what you got to. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But most of my interviews I'm able to do inside. Sometimes they're in an awkward time where I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm gonna be in the car. And it just is what it is sometimes. But I'm glad we were able to make something work, and here I am sitting on the couch.
Well, I'm gonna say something funny right here. If that's what it took for Mark Kriegel to call me personally on a Sunday, then I guess, hey, it was well worth it. And that tells me another thing. That means he's looking and watching. So I appreciate that, Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, exactly. He's he can see where you're going, and he's trying to make it the best way for you and for the best content.
He's one of the best in the world, man. He's one of the best in the world. As I do like Ray Flores as well, and I do like Sergio Mora. I mean, he's one of the guys that I'm fond at, and they do a great job behind the microphone. As a young Victor Morales, when it's all said and done, you will reinvent yourself as a commentator because you held your own. You did really well.
I 100% will, and it doesn't even have to be after. I could show up at a show and do one now if I needed to. You know what I mean? They asked me about it, and I said, whenever you want me to come back, I'm willing to come back. And I said, okay, we'll keep that
There
in
you go.
mind.
Maybe we'll do one together one day.
That
It
would be
would be
awesome.
awesome. We'll have some fun with that, man. Definitely. Listen, man. I mean, when you watch fights with your dad, does he watch the fight as a fan, or is he saying, Victor, do you see his left hand? He needs to be moving to the right. Victor, do you see what he did right here? He said, Victor, wait, put that hamburger down. Did you see what? Pause it. See, this is what you need. Does he do that, or does he enjoy the fight?
Yes. No, he does that. He
He's a great teacher then.
if it's one of the live fight, yeah, exactly. He's gonna teach during it. If it's one of the live fights, then he'll do that. If it's a fight that's a replay, he'll probably watch it and then he'll hey Vic, watch this fight. This is what I need. This is what you should be doing. This is what I want you to try. But that's just how. The second you said that, I knew it. That's exactly what my dad does.
So when your dad goes to the archives and watches one of his favorite fights, what fight is it? Because everybody goes to it and they like watching their favorite fights. What fight can he watch over and over again?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. He watches so many fights that I honestly could not tell you what he would turn on and be like, I can watch this fight every time. He might say one of my fights.
Well,
I don't
of course,
know.
it has to be one of your fights. But when he's not watching one of your fights, he can watch Naseem Hamed and Barrera. He can watch Tommy the Hitman Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, the second one. And he can watch Roberto Duran and Marvin Hagler. They went 15 rounds, and it was a great boxing matchup. And yeah, those I recommend. Let me ask you this, Victor. What's your bucket list like, and how many times have you went to it and fulfilled your bucket list?
Just in life or boxing
Anything
or what?
in general. Things that you said to yourself, this is my bucket list. I want to
I'm
do
gonna do
this,
that.
or I want to accomplish this, or oh, that was cool to try this.
I've done it a bunch of times with small things to big things. Small things. I ended up buying, my first, one of my first cars and stuff. Just little things, I graduate with this GPA or, have these grades for a certain amount of time type of thing, as I was younger. And then, it was win a national title, win 3 national titles, make Team USA, win a gold medal, make it to Golden Gloves. It was different things growing up. Now it was pro debut, win a pro debut, get signed, fight on TV, win a junior title to line me up for a world title. And, I'm just slowly accomplishing all these little things as I'm going, and I couldn't be happier.
What does it feel like to be stopped by a stranger that wants a picture or an autograph?
It's awesome, honestly. Sometimes it throws me off because when I'm here, people see me or at the fights. It's different than if I'm like walking down the street or I'm like in a grocery store and like I watched you fight. I even got stopped in one of the gyms that I go to at home, and they're like, "I know you're Victor, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like we went to preschool together. I said, "Oh, hi, can I get a picture?" I said, "Let's do it." And so we're like locker rooms behind us and just take a picture. And I said, some people just remember certain things like that. I didn't remember who it was, but it's awesome to see, different people that recognize me and I'm willing to talk, take pictures, sign on, do whatever with the people.
Well, that's because you got a great upbringing from your mom and dad. I noticed that right out the gate when I met your mom and dad.
Yeah, they raised me to be just like that, level-headed, down to earth, and that's what I am. I mean, what you see is what you get.
I got to ask you this before I let you go. What does your closet look like? I mean, do we got some Versace? Do we got some Jordans? And then I want to talk to you about your cologne game. So what is your closet? What does Victor Morales Jr.'s closet look like today?
Oh, my closet's not, it's nothing crazy. I get when I get clothes when I need to get clothes type of thing. I don't have crazy jewelry like a lot of the other guys. I just like to live like, just a real nice life. If I'm going to spend money, it's going to be on cars and car stuff. I do have like 3 or 4 different wardrobes because I have to have uh, suits, regular clothes, workout clothes. I have a whole closet full of just my fight outfits.
Nice.
I've I've got more clothes than my girl does. Shoes, and Jordans here and
Yeah.
there. She still got me beat on shoes. She has like a whole basket of shoes that I didn't even know she had until we moved out. And but clothes wise, I probably got her beat on
There you
clothes,
go.
at least space wise.
So what's your cologne game like? What's your fragrance? What do you put on? What do you dig? What do you like?
Uh, you know, in my family, we like cologne, but we're not like crazy with cologne. So typically, my uncle was working in Cologne, was doing a lot of different things in Cologne, and was an ambassador for a lot of different brands and this and that. So we kind of just on Christmas we say, "Hey, I want cologne, but I only want it from you because you're the only one that can pick things out." So I don't have anything crazy. So like Yves Saint Laurent stuff. I have a lot of that stuff.
Good stuff.
Polo stuff, Prada stuff. I don't know. I have a bunch of different stuff. Not anything that's super crazy. But typically my stuff is picked out by him.
What motivates you when you don't feel like getting up?
The life that I have, I have my life the way I have, the stuff that I have because of me waking up every day and doing and grinding the way I'm supposed to. So that and wanting to be the best in the Pacific Northwest, the best in the world at my weight. And there's a lot of things that go into it every day. And those days that you don't want to get up, you say, you better get up. Look at everything you have now. It's just gonna go. It could just go away, right? So it takes one thing to be able to just erase everything, and I don't want that to happen.
What do you say to a fighter that wants to turn pro, that wants the lifestyle at a young age? You know, you have a few words to give that young person. What word of advice would you give that person?
I would say the second you signed up, you better have been running already, right? You got to have some conditioning. Listen to your coaches, listen to your family, and definitely take a long time in the amateur, as long as you can, because you can take a loss in the amateurs and you're just going to learn from it. You're going to fight the next week, 2 weeks from now, or go out and travel as much as you can around nationals if you can. That way, you're not learning on the job when you turn as a pro. A lot of promoters will say, "Well, you can. It's okay if you take a loss." And let's be honest here, stock just drops. A fighter is like a stock market, and if you take a loss, I don't care what they say, it stock goes down, and you know. So you definitely want to make all those lessons as much as you can in the amateurs and transfer it to the pros. That way, when you get here, it's just adding things that you're already doing.
Very, very well said. You know, a loss takes years off your career. It'll take you 2 or 3 years to get back to that
Sets you
position
back.
that you were once in, unless you displayed one hell of a fight and you've earned that rematch or you've earned that name. Because a lot of people will handpick you, and you got to let them know, hey, I don't care what they did. It's another great opportunity for me to rebound and perform.
Hmm. Exactly. You don't want to learn on the job as a pro. Yes, there's those times where it was a close fight, it was a good fight, and you're gonna get the rematch, but we don't want the stock to go down, so we only want it to go up, and that's the help of just learning everything you can in the amateurs, and then turning pro, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, oh, I just want to turn pro because it'd be cool to be a pro, or the money and this and that. I'm like, don't focus on the money. You're not going to be making money for a while. It's not until midway, into your just depends 10, 20 fights, start making a little bit of money, and you want to learn all those things in the amateurs.
What can we expect from Victor Morales Jr. March 16th in Las Vegas, Nevada, once that first bell rings?
A lot of excitement, we're going to go out there and do what we do best. Another tornado is going to come through and wreak havoc in Vegas.
Anybody you want to give a shout out to, and how can we follow you? What's your handle?
Shout out to all my family, all my friends, all my sponsors. You can follow me on Instagram at official_Victor Morales. Twitter is tornado_Victor M. And then Facebook is just Victor Morales Jr.
Victor, I want to thank you, man, for taking the time out, man. I mean, a busy schedule. We locked you in. You agreed. There was no negotiation whatsoever. You're always a favorite to come on here, and I see you be on as a person. I see you as family. You know, I follow your fights, even though I'm not there in the audience, brother. Trust me, I'm having a cold one. I'm watching you, and I'm dissecting you. I'm saying, okay, he needs to get inside. I go, there you go, Victor. There you, bro. That's God honest truth. So when you come on the show, it's like, hey, it is what it is, and we make good music together, man. You're doing your thing. I'm proud of you. I never got a chance to tell you that I'm proud of you. I've told you congratulations when proposed to your fiance in the middle of the ring. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but we'll talk about all that other stuff on another time. And we definitely got to recap after March 16th. Bring you back on the show. How does that sound?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll call me. I'll be there. You know, like I said, there's no negotiation. If you want it at 6:37, whatever time, I'll be there.
I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Richard Ortiz of The Fighter's Voice. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe now. It's www.youtube.com/The Fighter's Voice. And remember, if you want to be part of the Fighter's Voice team, if you want your logo on this segment, if you want us to talk about your brand or your business, we're taking sponsors and we'll invite you into the Fighter's Voice family. Make you an official sponsor of the Fighter's Voice. Remember, every fighter has a voice. So as always,
remember, it's always voiceography at its finest. So on behalf of Richard Ortiz, the special guests, and all the crew, saying hasta luego, babies. And always, thanks for listening.